To the journey.
You're here.
To the journey.
When you're caught in the Delta Quadrant and looking down the barrel of a 70-plus year journey, it helps to stock up on food. While the matter replicators can whip up a hot meal, it still takes some warp core juice to make. A clever solution is to go all old school and give Neelix his own kitchen. After all, everyone loves Neelix, right? Well, it turns out it was worth it for Janeway to give up her executive dining suite so Star Trek's Jar Jar could stretch alien rations. Just don't order the plomeek soup. Cooking has a long history in Star Trek, from Cisco to Pike, but Neelix is an expert when it comes to cheese. If you have a kitchen, you're gonna need a garden. With replicator rations stretching the ship's limited power as far as possible, Neelix and Kes looked to fill that gap. Neelix, of course, had his kitchen and scrounging up whatever he could. Kes, on the other hand, converted a cargo bay into a fully functional airponics center where she grew alien fruits and veg. While we're on the subject of modified cargo bays, one of the utility storage rooms ended up being converted into a cozy little home away from the collective for a displaced Borg drone. In the show's fourth season, a casting change was made. Out goes Kes, and in comes 7 of 9. After being freed from the collective, 7 still needed to regenerate in a Borg alcove. Luckily, a set was installed during Janeway's brief alliance with the Techno Tyrants. Originally hosting multiple drones, a quick airlocking reduced that number to 1. Still, the cargo bay was left mostly unaltered after its voluntary assimilation. But hey, that's not the only Borg tech running through the ship. An emergency medical hologram is not necessarily something you're supposed to leave on all the time. The EMH is designed to be a supplementary physician for use in a medical emergency, or if you just need someone to distract a group of angry Borg.
I'm a doctor, not a doorstop.
However, after the death of the ship's chief medical officer, Voyager's EMH received a more permanent assignment. This meant that the Doctor, as he had been dubbed by the crew, would have to adapt and change beyond his original programming. Over the course of the series, the Doctor grows from a short-tempered accessory to a sentient and fully realized person. Part of this is his drive to alter his own programming to include things like a love of music, a romantic entanglement or two, and even some combat and leadership skills. He even ends up with a temporary uniform change and a new designation as the ship's Emergency Command Hologram, or ECH. Plus, he also ends up a hell of a holo novelist, giving even Tom Paris a run for his latinum. Back to all that green and black tubing that's found its way into the Intrepid class starship. During their alliance with the Borg, the Voyager was installed, or I guess assimilated, with custom Borg upgrades to her shields and internal sensors. The ship was also equipped with experimental nanoprobe torpedoes that were developed with the collective to battle the deadly new race, species 8472. Of course, a lot of these upgrades stuck around after the two-parter, and they were even expanded on. Thanks to their new crew member, Voyager is installed with even more Borg-based upgrades over the course of the series. Hey, when you have Tom Paris aboard, it's only a matter of time before he builds you a sweet hot rod. The Delta Flyer is as iconic to the show as the Voyager itself. This heavily modified shuttle was built from the ground up, initially as part of a specific mission. Needing to retrieve their custom probe before a group of alien kleptos do, a custom craft was needed to overcome the intense pressure of a gas giant. The Delta Flyer stuck around, however, and quickly became a key ship for the series. Over the course of the show, the Flyer sees multiple battles, competes in a deadly space race, and is even destroyed and rebuilt. The small craft served as a home away from home for the crew members on away missions, and even crossed from reality to animation when it showed up in Rutherford's Mindscape. If you're going on a 70-year-long road trip, you're gonna need a few good maps. For the first few seasons, Captain Janeway relied on Neelix and his knowledge of the local star systems they found themselves around. However, over the course of the journey, the ship leaves behind anything Neelix has ever known. One way they overcome this new problem is to build a brand new Astrometrics lab. The lab is designed to chart the space around them, helping the crew find the most efficient path home. Visually, it also offers an interesting location to have all the technobabble-filled exposition the show requires. While a much smaller version, this new set takes a lot from the Astrometrics room seen in TNG debut film Star Trek Generations. The room became a favorite haunt for the ship's freed Borg drone 7 of 9, as she often used it as her main workplace. Transwarp is more than just the full-fat version of warp. It's a whole new way to travel, baby. It's just too bad that the only experts in how to use it are the Borg. Transwarp is different from the more traditional FTL drive in a lot of ways. First and foremost, while a lot faster, it does require the use of a sub-dimensional network of transwarp conduits. Voyager experimented with its own version of transwarp when they harvested a necessary piece of equipment from a Borg cube. The first time they used it, transwarp caused a lot of problems for the ship. However, it did shave a few years off their trip home. Voyager did end up using the transwarp network to get home at the end of the series. However, it also required a future Janeway and a direct battle with the Borg. Lucky for them, Voyager had some hot new upgrades. Speaking of which, hey, Star Trek Voyager did a time travel plot with the title Endgame before the Avengers did. In the show's finale, a much older Janeway travels back in time with a load of future goodies to help the ship return home faster, avoiding the bleak future she's found herself in. Some of those future goodies give the titular ship a pretty awesome makeover. The ablative shield generator is a piece of advanced tech that creates a shell of near impenetrable armor over Voyager. This new shielding helps the ship go toe-to-toe with several Borg cubes. They are also helped by the brand new Transphasic torpedoes, a much stronger version of the more traditional photon torpedoes. Transwarp isn't the only new type of propulsion that Janeway and her crew experimented with. One such method is called quantum slipstream, and boy does it cause some problems for the intrepid crew. It's first introduced when the ship encounters what they believe is the U.S.S. Dauntless. The Dauntless is supposedly an experimental ship set to retrieve the stranded crew. In actuality, it's an elaborate trap set by a bitter alien man who blames Janeway for his family's assimilation. The drive still works, however, and the ruse doesn't stop Janeway and her crew from experimenting with it on Voyager herself. Unfortunately, it leads to a crashed ship, a bit of time travel, and even a TNG cameo. In the end, it did help shave some years off their trip. Plus, Ensign Kim got to see an alternate future where he was actually promoted for once.